Hello, hope you're having a great day. Now this morning I'm focusing on trying to get through my full morning routine quickly, right? As usual, when I was laying in bed, once my alarm went off, it was a battle to get out of bed. And I sort of caught myself, instead of just focusing on getting out of bed, I was focusing on, how long it was going to be to walk around the block and then how tiring it was going to be to do my workout, etc. But then I sort of snapped out of it and it's like, no, just focus on getting up. And then once I've got up, then just focus on having loads of water and salt water and vitamin C. Then once I've done that, just focus on brushing my teeth. Then after that, focus on getting all my layers on and so on and so on. And then, went for my walk and tried not to think about, doing my workout and stuff while I was going for my walk or, doing my meditation or writing in my journal until I get back. Then just focus on writing on my journal. And then once that's done, then I sat down to meditate. And then obviously, my mind is trying to drag me out of the present moment whilst I'm meditating, which is usually the case. But yeah, just keep, bringing your attention back, focus on meditating. And now I've got to the stage where it is time to do my workout. And even now, I've got a bit of a twinge in my back. I think it's not an injury, you know what I mean? I've just, strained my back slightly last night in the gym when I was doing my leg session. So, my mind's trying to, drag me into a future scenario where I injure my back from doing my workout when, it's probably not going to happen if I'm careful. I just need to focus on doing my workout, not focus on whatever my mind's telling me to persuade me not to do my workout. And yeah, it's just an example of how if you go through your day literally focusing on one thing at a time, you'll get through it. Whereas if I was still laying in bed now, focusing on how bad the walk around the block's going to be, how bad the workout's going to be, I'd still be in bed. But because I've been focusing on literally one thing at a time, I'm now at the point where I need to do my workout. And when you analyse your mind and listen to your mind as if it is a separate entity like I do every day, you'll start noticing that your mind is always there trying to drag you into future and past and take you away from what you're trying to do in front of you. And you'll also notice that when you keep constantly bringing your attention back to whatever you're doing in that moment, rather than allowing your mind to drag you into future and past, you'll find that you get more done. You'll find that you live a less anxious life. And you'll find that, when things do crop up, even if they are things that your mind has tried to make you think about before the fact, when things do crop up, but you haven't been wasting your whole time thinking about them when you didn't need to, you're better able to deal with them. Anyway, time for me to crack on with my workout because, as I say, I want to get through my workout. I want to get through my routine today as quick as I can. Last night in the gym, I was doing legs, so I'm going to crack on with a leg session here at home as well. Going to do squats and calves, and I'll do those 2 sets of each back to back. And then I think I'll see how my back feels because, I'd want to bang out deadlift and then maybe do push-ups in between or sit-ups in between. But, we'll see if this little twinge in my back gets any worse. So first up, squats and calves. Ooh. Fine, because I'm holding the bar so long like this, actually gives my traps and shoulders a bonus little workout as well. Anyway, my back doesn't feel any worse, so I'm going to rest for a couple of minutes and then do 2 sets of deadlift, and in between those sets I think I'll do a set of sit-ups. Right, now time for some more healthy suffering with a cold shower. Alright, so today was one of them days where I wasn't actually sure what I was going to crack on with, right? I live a life where I'm always busy, there's always stuff to do, and there's always a variety of stuff to do. Sometimes I'm filming videos and working on my car, sometimes I'm editing those videos, sometimes I'm posting stuff on social media, sometimes I'm dealing with car part sales and merchandise stuff. So I'm grateful that I live quite a manic, interesting life, right? It keeps me occupied. Although there is a risk of sometimes when I don't know what I need to crack on with, that I end up doing nothing. You know, I'm also someone who's prone to sort of starting lots of things but not actually finishing anything. So yes, I'm grateful that I live an interesting life. I'm grateful that I've got enough to keep me occupied so that, you know, it's easier for me to not go down a road of, you know, wanting to go and get high and take drugs and whatnot. But, you know, it does come with its downsides. You know, when you live like a regimented life and everything's mapped out for you, you always know what you're doing. You don't ever need to think about what you're doing, right? And obviously, my mornings nowadays, you know, I've turned them into a very regimented thing. So, you know, I know what I need to do. It's just a case of doing it. So today I wasn't actually sure what I was going to crack on with. Also, you know, my beautiful girlfriend Kat's off work, although she's starting her night shifts tonight. So she wants to go and do shopping. She wants to go to the gym. I've decided that I'm definitely not going to be in a position where, you know, she's waiting for me to do what I need to before we both go to the gym. She's definitely going to the gym on her own. Yeah, you know, it's one of them days where I'm sort of procrastinating about what to do and I'm at risk of ending up doing nothing. But yeah, I'm just trying to keep doing something or some things, you know, just keep doing stuff. And that's what life's all about, right? Just keep doing stuff. And whilst you're making sure that you keep doing stuff, try and focus as fully on each thing you're doing as you're doing it. You know, try and stay in the present moment. You know, another sort of downside to having a really sporadic life, and another thing that kind of can potentially turn a sporadic day into a nothing day, is if, you know you've got loads of stuff to do, right? Well, that means you've got loads of stuff in the future that you're going to be doing. So that's more stuff that your mind can draw you away from what you're doing at any one time to think about. So I think, in my opinion, when you are living a sporadic life, or when you've got quite a sporadic day, it's even more important to sort of focus as fully as you can on each thing as you're doing it. But your mind will tell you the opposite. You know, oh, you've got so many things to do today, you know, so your mind will tell you that that's so many other things that you should and could be worrying about. But I find that it's another reason why you need to stay in the present moment as much as you can. You know, you'll get to those things when the time comes. I mean, obviously, you might need to sort of be aware of the time, you know, if you've got to be at such and such a place at such and such a time, then, you know, you don't want to be so engrossed in what you're doing that you literally forget about time passing. Yeah, but that again is planning, right? You know, it's okay to look into the future and plan. Right, I'm going to do this task for this amount of time, then I'm going to crack on with the next task. Right, that's it, I've made that plan now I'm going to focus on this task. Now, I've just taken my beautiful girlfriend Kat to work, and I've just made my way to the gym. I'm going to go in and bang out a back session, and I might throw the shoulders back in as well. I normally do back and shoulders together, but I've been going really easy on my shoulders lately because they always get pains and stuff. But, you know, now that I've opted to do 2 boxing classes a week, I'm probably, maybe, on most weeks, only going to be doing 3 gym sessions. You know, my split that I do is legs, and then back and shoulders, and then arms and chest. So if I'm only going to be doing 1 of each per week, I need to make them count. So that's why I'm thinking I might throw the shoulders back in today. Now, with my beautiful girlfriend starting her night shift this week, she'll be doing 3 nights. On her week that she does night shift, which she has to do once a month, she does 1 day on the Monday and then does 3 nights. And if you've been watching my videos on this channel for any length of time, you'll know that when she used to do night shift was the time that I used to always, you know, go out and sniff cocaine. I used to go on mad missions, all unknown to her. While she was doing her night shift, I was out and about, going into pubs and getting drunk, you know, sniffing cocaine, you know, sometimes at home, but sometimes out. And a lot of the time I'd end up walking around the streets until, you know, stupid o'clock in the morning. You know, sometimes I'd literally get home just before she rolled in from her night shift. So this sort of, you know, period once a month is the time where I used to really like fall off the wagon. You know, even in times where I sort of told myself that I was never, you know, doing gear again. Like, it would get to when she's on nights, and then I would always fall off the wagon. You know, at times during my life, there's been times where I was sniffing cocaine every day, you know, at my day job and stuff, as I've explained to you guys. But, you know, even the times when I wasn't doing that, even the times when I was kidding myself, telling myself that I'd given up, I'd only last that month. And then as soon as she done night shift, I'd fall off the wagon again. So, you know, it's always been a time that's hard for me, basically, and the time that I'd usually fail. And, you know, at the beginning of this current attempt at staying sober and staying clean, when this sort of time came around, as soon as my girlfriend would mention at the weekend, oh, I'm doing nights next week, like, you know, that would be it. Like, you know, my inner sort of demons would be, you know, pinging off, and it'd start like setting a plan in motion of, you know, doing gear essentially. But then at the beginning of this sort of attempt at staying clean, it was a time where, you know, these thoughts would come up and I would have to sort of battle them. Now, obviously, I understand that you can't battle thoughts. The more that you try and sort of battle them, the more that you tell your mind not to think something, the more it's going to think it, right? You're adding fuel to the fire. But it was still a time where thoughts would come up and I would have to sort of consciously think, right, those thoughts are coming up, we're not doing gear, sort of thing, you know. And then as you sort of like get a couple of months under your belt, it becomes easier. Easier is probably the wrong word. It's like you become more capable of doing it, right? The more time you get under your belt. But now we're sort of like 10 months in. It's weird. It's like my mind is like trying to really subtly like think of getting on it. It's almost like my mind knows that there's no chance of me just falling off the wagon because I've got so many months under my belt. So now it has to sort of like subtly try and trick me, you know, like coming through the back door. So I don't really get thoughts anymore of me actually like planning in my head, you know, when I'm going to do gear and etc. etc. Like there's no sort of story going on in my head now because, you know, I'm fully committed to this clean life. You know, as I've explained, you know, this time things are different because I've called myself out on this channel by making these videos, because I'm literally, you know, focusing, you know, my main focus in life is my physical, mental and spiritual health. My main focus isn't trying to give up drugs. My main focus is my physical, mental and spiritual health. And then that just means that drugs aren't an option, right? So it's very different. And, you know, I've called myself out on this channel, which is obviously very different. So I do kind of think that if I fail now, I've kind of let everyone down that watches these videos. But also, you know, because I've got to the point where I'm literally making these videos, like if I was to fail now, like what's next? Like what's going to work if this doesn't? But anyway, this attempt seems to be working. So there's no real story in my mind of, you know, actually imagining going to get on gear, right? So instead, things are happening like the other night I had a dream where I took drugs and obviously woke up really glad that it was just a dream and stuff. And then, you know, I noticed like yesterday, I think it was, where there was like literally like a split second almost of me. I must have been driving past somewhere that I'd been high in the past or whatever, like something just triggered it. And there was like a split second of me remembering how it feels to get high or how it felt to get high in that place. You know, if it was a place that I went past that I recognised, you know, it was such a tiny, like, you know, as I say, split second thought. You know, I don't battle it, you know, I just sort of carry on back to what I was doing. I think I was driving at the time, so, you know, I just sort of brought myself back to the present moment and carried on driving. It was almost like a second daydream, you know. So, yeah, the way I look at it is it's like my mind knows that it can't just, you know, put thoughts in my mind and, you know, bring up the idea of getting on gear, because it knows that I'm stronger than that now. So what it has to do instead is like subtly just throw little thoughts in there and see how they go, you know. And in my opinion, it's never going to completely disappear, like the urge to take drugs, you know. Like every time I sort of drive past the area that my dealer lives in, I think about how I used to go and take drugs. There's not an actual story there of me, oh, should I go and get some gear? Should I go and get some gear? Like, you know, like there was at the beginning of this attempt, you know what I mean? There's none of that, but there's still that thought. There's still that thought of me remembering when I used to veer off and drive down the road that I need to get to his house to go and get some gear. As far as I'm concerned, that'll probably always be there. You know, you just crack on with life and you get further and further into your sobriety. You start doing more and more healthy stuff, you know, just layering stuff on. You layer on more and more reasons for you to stay clean, you know, more and more reasons for you to not do gear, you know, which just outweighs any thoughts that are always going to be there why you should do gear. You know, they outweigh any memories you've got of how good it used to be to do gear, you know. I think a lot of people trip up like that. I know I have, certainly, you know, in the past when I've gone through periods of sobriety where you almost assume that once you've got a certain amount of time under your belt, you let your guard down, and that's when your addiction will sort of creep in and get you. And that's what I think it's trying to do to me nowadays. You know, it knows that it can't just blatantly, you know, bring up a thought and persuade me to do gear. So there's just these little subtle thoughts every now and again, these little, you know, like I say, a little dream or something. And, you know, in the past, I've actually gone through periods of sobriety where, you know, you don't do gear for 6 months, and then you just like believe that you can go out and have a session once and then that'll be it. And it's never the case. You know, I've had the same thing when I've given up weed, like years ago, where I've smoked weed for years and then given it up, and then it's like, oh, you know, I can have a joint now on a Saturday. Well, you know, eventually, it might take you a couple of weeks, but eventually I was always ended up back on smoking weed every single day, and, you know, not being able to give up for another year. And that's what your addiction does. Once you let your guard down, it will come and get you. And that's why I say, like, me banging on about the fact that I'm a drug addict, me banging on about, you know, what my mind's doing to me, and, you know, analysing everything like this, it's not me keeping the addiction alive. Like, the addiction is always going to be there, and it will get me when I forget that it's there. You know, so I'm not keeping it alive. What I'm doing is I'm continually acknowledging it, because that is what I've found is the way to battle it. You can't just forget about your addiction. You know, you can't just ignore it and it will go away. You know, you have to keep reminding it that you're keeping your eye on it, and keep reminding it that nowadays you're better than it, and keep proving to yourself that you're better than it by layering more and more things onto your life, layering more reasons to stay clean. Anyway, I need to get myself into the gym to do this back and potentially shoulders session. I'm going to start off with my incline walk, of course, and yeah, I can crack on with some admin and stuff on my phone while I'm doing that. And then, yeah, going to jump into some back and shoulders. Alright, gym session felt like it went well. As you would have just seen, I went on the assisted pull-ups, then done rear delt fly, then went on the diverging seated row, and I've been having my seat really high on that just to try and bias my lats a bit more, and obviously been heavily biasing my left side because my left lat is so much smaller than my right. And yeah, decided to bang out some shoulders afterwards. I did the lateral raise and I was going to go on the shoulder press, but it was taken. But I think tomorrow morning I'm going to do one of my shoulder workouts with the light dumbbells, and I might actually throw in a set or two of shoulder press with the heavier dumbbells as well. And then my shoulders should recover by the day after tomorrow, when in the evening I'm planning to go boxing. So yeah, that should work out sweet. My beautiful girlfriend has made me a stir fry for dinner. Looking forward to that. Gonna have a protein yogurt after it, of course, my second one today. And I've just knocked up my kiwi fruit, blueberry, pomegranate juice and natural yogurt smoothie, because yeah, forgot to have my smoothie earlier on, but didn't want to miss out on it. You know, I have that every day. As I've said so many times, everyone should eat kiwis and blueberries every day. Yeah, I have it in a smoothie with pomegranate juice and natural yogurt. Now after dinner, I am going to dive into some editing. I want to try and burn the midnight oil and do loads of work this evening, because I'm hoping to put that car video out tomorrow, although I still need to crack on with working on the parts in my shed and film that to finish that video. And in an ideal world, I'd love to start the next car video on my favourite car, which is at home here in the garage, but we'll have to see how that goes, because yeah, I've got loads of other stuff that I need to crack on with, as well as getting the car video out tomorrow. So yeah, busy day tomorrow, but that's how I like it. But I'm actually going to end this video here and just eat my dinner and dive straight into work. massive thanks as always to everyone who's tuned in. Also, massive thanks to everyone who's been getting in touch recently to say that these videos are helpful. You know, I don't see myself as a self-improvement expert, not by any means, even though I have been sort of studying it for probably 15 years. I haven't actually been taking my life seriously apart from, you know, the last 10 months. So, you know, this is just me sharing my life. You know, it's helping me massively because it means I'm calling myself out. And yeah, it's cool when, you know, a few people get in touch and say that they're implementing some of the stuff that I am and it's helping them. So yeah, big shout to everyone who has been in touch. As usual, if anyone does want to jump in the comments and say hello, feel free, or get in touch through the usual channels. All the links to everything will be in the description as usual. But other than that, I'll be back tomorrow for another video following my journey into a clean and healthy drug-free life. So I'll chat to you tomorrow.